The massive crystal station hung in space like a frozen star. Its walls were made from materials that did not exist on any known planet. The station orbited a distant world called Kepler 442b, far from any human eyes. Inside the station, ancient beings were gathering for a meeting that had not happened in over 1,000 years. Veltharax moved through the corridors with quick steps. His blue skin glowed softly in the dim light. As the head of the Zephyrian race, he had lived for over 3,000 years. But today, he felt older than ever before. The emergency message had reached every corner of the galaxy. The Galactic Council was calling all its members to meet right now. The main hall was enormous. It could hold beings from dozens of different worlds. Strange creatures filled the seats. The luminals appeared as balls of pure light that moved through the air. The collective looked like a group of gray beings that moved as one mind. There were the crystal-bodied minerals and the gas-like ethereals. All of them were old races that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. Veltharax took his place at the center of the hall. His voice carried to every corner without the need for machines. "Council members," he began, "we face a crisis unlike any in our long history." The hall became silent. Even the luminals stopped their constant movement. Every being focused on the Zephyrian leader. "The humans have done something impossible," Veltharax continued. 3 days ago, a human scientist named Elena Vasquez made a breakthrough. She has learned to connect human minds directly with quantum fields. A wave of shock moved through the hall. The collective spoke with their 1,000 voices at once. "This cannot be. Humans are still primitive. They have not even mastered basic space travel." "That is what we believed," Veltharax said. "But we were wrong. Dr. Vasquez has achieved in months what took us centuries to understand, and she did it without our knowledge or help." An elderly mineral named Kronax spoke next. His crystal body rang like a bell when he moved. "Perhaps this is just one human, an exception to their normal abilities." "I wish that were true," Veltharax replied. "But our monitoring stations report similar events happening across human space. Humans who should not understand advanced science are making impossible discoveries. Children are showing abilities that even we struggle to control." The ethereal representative, Mistwalker, floated closer to the center of the hall. Her voice sounded like wind through caves. "You speak of monitoring stations, but humans do not know we watch them. How could they hide these developments from us?" Veltharax felt a chill run through his body. This was the part he had been dreading. "That is the most troubling news of all. Our latest reports suggest that humans are becoming aware of our presence. They should not be able to sense our technology, but they are doing it anyway." The hall erupted in voices from dozens of different species. Some spoke in anger, others in fear. The collective's 1,000 voices rose above the rest. "If humans can detect us, then the Great Plan is in danger." "The Great Plan," Veltharax repeated slowly. These words made every being in the hall remember their shared secret. For over 2,000 years, they had been guiding younger races. They decided which species could advance and which should remain primitive. They had done this to keep peace in the galaxy and to maintain their own power. Humans were supposed to be the control group. The Council had chosen Earth's people to remain at a basic level of development. This would help them measure how other species were progressing. Humans were never meant to become advanced. They were never supposed to challenge the old order. "We must review the human files immediately," Veltharax announced. "I want to know how this happened." The great screen in the center of the hall came to life. It showed images of Earth from space, then closer views of human cities and laboratories. The council members watched as data scrolled past their eyes. Population numbers, technology levels, and social development scores all appeared on the screen. "Look at these readings," said Kronax. "According to our models, humans should not achieve quantum consciousness for another 1,000 years. Yet here they are doing it now." Mistwalker studied the data carefully. "There is something else strange here. Look at the genetic patterns. Human DNA contains sequences we have never seen before in any species." "That is impossible," the collective said. "We have scanned millions of species across the galaxy. We know every type of genetic code, yet the evidence is clear, Mistwalker replied. Human genetics are unique. Perhaps this explains their unexpected abilities. Veltherax felt a growing sense of dread. The Galactic Council had existed for over 10 million years. In all that time, they had never encountered a species that could surprise them. Every race followed predictable patterns of development. Every civilization grew at rates they could calculate and control. But humans were different. They had broken every rule the Council understood about how intelligence evolved. Worse, they were doing it at a speed that seemed to increase every day. There is more, Veltherax said quietly. Dr. Vasquez's research has attracted attention from other human scientists. They are sharing information and working together. If they continue at this pace, they may achieve full quantum consciousness within months, not centuries. The luminal representative, who had remained silent until now, suddenly blazed brighter. If humans achieve full quantum consciousness, they will be able to see through all our deceptions. They will know we have been controlling their development. They will know about the barriers we placed around their solar system. They will know everything. This thought terrified every being in the hall. The Galactic Council's power depended on younger races believing they had developed naturally. If species learned about the manipulation and control, there would be revolts across the galaxy. What are our options? Asked Kronax. Veltherax had been preparing for this question. We have 3 choices. First, we could reveal ourselves to the humans and try to guide their development openly. Second, we could try to stop their progress through more direct intervention. Third, we could implement emergency protocols to contain the human threat. Reveal ourselves? The collective's voices rose in alarm. That would break protocols that have existed for millions of years. Direct intervention would be noticed by other species, Mistwalker pointed out. If we act openly against the humans, younger races will become suspicious. That leaves containment, said Kronax. But what kind of containment could work against beings who manipulate quantum fields? Veltherax looked around the hall at the faces of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful species. For the first time in his long life, he saw fear in their eyes. I propose we move to emergency session, he announced. We will review all human data and determine our response within the next cycle. But I warn all of you, whatever we decide must be done quickly. Every day we delay, the humans become more dangerous. As the council members began to disperse, Veltherax remained in the hall. He stared at the screen showing images of Earth. Somewhere on that blue world, Dr. Elena Vasquez was working in her laboratory, unaware that her discoveries had shaken the foundations of galactic civilization. The emergency had begun, and Veltherax had the terrible feeling that nothing would ever be the same again. The great archive room was deep inside the crystal station. Ancient data crystals lined the walls from floor to ceiling. Each crystal contained thousands of years of galactic history. Veltherax stood before the main viewing screen with other council members. They had come to learn the truth about their relationship with humanity. Begin the review, Veltherax commanded. Show us everything from the beginning. The screen flickered to life. Images of early Earth appeared, showing the planet as it was 50,000 years ago. Primitive humans lived in caves and hunted with stone tools. They looked exactly like humans today, but they lived very simple lives. This is when we first discovered Earth, explained the archive keeper. An ancient being whose species had died out long ago. Only his consciousness remained stored in the station's computers. Our scouts found humans and studied them for several centuries. The images changed to show the first meetings between the council races and early humans. But these were not the meetings humans remembered in their history books. The real first contact had happened thousands of years before humans developed writing. We found humans interesting, the archive keeper continued. They were intelligent but not too advanced. Their brains could learn, but they seemed to lack the ability to make the great leaps that other species made. Mistwalker floated closer to the screen. I remember these early reports. Our scientists believed humans had reached their natural limit. They could make tools and build simple societies, but they could never develop the kind of consciousness needed for advanced civilization. That is correct, said the archive keeper. Based on our brain scans, humans appeared to be missing certain neural pathways. The pathways that allow for quantum consciousness manipulation. This made them perfect for our purposes. The screen showed the next phase of the plan. Council ships had visited Earth many times over the centuries, but they had been very careful to hide their presence. Sometimes they would help humans make small discoveries. Other times they would prevent humans from advancing too quickly. Look at this example, the archive keeper said. The screen showed ancient Egypt, with humans building the pyramids. Humans were beginning to understand advanced mathematics. This threatened to accelerate their development beyond our control. So we intervened, Kronak said. I remember this operation. We arranged for certain key individuals to die in accidents. We also destroyed some of their written records. Yes, the archive keeper confirmed. We did this many times throughout human history. Whenever they came close to making breakthrough discoveries, we would step in. Sometimes we would steal their brightest minds. Sometimes we would cause wars or disasters to disrupt their progress. The images continued to roll across the screen. The council members watched as their ancestors manipulated human development for thousands of years. They had guided the rise and fall of civilizations. They had decided which technologies humans could discover and which must remain hidden. Here is the Renaissance period, the archive keeper announced. The screen showed Leonardo da Vinci working on his inventions. This human was becoming too advanced. His designs threatened to push human technology forward by centuries. What did we do? Asked a young luminal. We allowed him to make his discoveries, but ensured they would be forgotten, Veltharax replied. We arranged for his notes to be scattered and hidden. Many of his greatest inventions were never built. The review continued into more recent times. The screen showed the Industrial Revolution, the development of electricity, and the invention of computers. At every step, the Council had been there guiding and controlling human progress. Even their space program was managed by us, the archive keeper explained. We allowed them to reach their moon but prevented them from going further. We wanted them to believe they were exploring on their own, but we controlled every major development. The deception was perfect, said the collective. Humans never suspected they were being watched and controlled. They believed their progress was natural. Until now, Veltharax said grimly. Show us Dr. Elena Vasquez. The screen changed to show a laboratory in Moscow. A woman in her 30s worked late into the night, surrounded by complex equipment. Her name was Dr. Elena Vasquez, and she was about to change everything the Council believed about humans. Dr. Vasquez began her research 3 years ago, the archive keeper explained. She was studying quantum physics, which we allowed because we believed humans could not understand the deeper principles. What made her research different? Asked Mistwalker. She approached the problem in a way we had never seen before, the archive keeper replied. Instead of trying to control quantum fields with technology, she attempted to interface with them, directly using her own consciousness. The screen showed Dr. Vasquez in her laboratory, connected to a strange machine. Wires ran from her head to a quantum field generator. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, suddenly, the machine began to respond to her thoughts. This should have been impossible, Kronak said. Our scans showed that human brains lack the neural structures for quantum consciousness. That is what we believed, the archive keeper agreed. But Dr. Vasquez proved us wrong. Not only could she interface with quantum fields, but she did it, more naturally than most of our own species. The council members watched in amazement as Dr. Vasquez's experiments continued. She could make quantum particles dance to her will. She could communicate across vast distances instantly. She could even manipulate matter at the atomic level. But this was just the beginning, the archive keeper warned. Show them what happened next. The screen split into multiple views, showing different parts of Earth. In each location, humans were demonstrating abilities they should not have possessed. A child in Japan could make objects move with his mind. A teenager in Brazil could see through walls. An old man in Canada could predict future events with perfect accuracy. How many humans are showing these abilities? Veltherax asked. Our latest count shows over 3,000 cases, the archive keeper replied. And the number grows every day. Worse, they seem to be learning from each other. Dr. Vasquez has been sharing her research through their global communication network. This is a disaster, said the collective. If humans develop full quantum consciousness, they will be as advanced as any council race. More advanced, perhaps. Mistwalker studied the data carefully. There is something else troubling here. Look at the patterns of their abilities. They are not learning step by step as other species do. They are making intuitive leaps that should take centuries to achieve. What does this mean? Asked a young ethereal. It means humans may not be the primitive species we believed them to be, Veltherax said slowly. Perhaps we made a fundamental error in our original assessment. The archive keeper's voice became quieter. There is more. Show them the intercepted communications. New images appeared on the screen. These showed human scientists and government officials in secret meetings. They were discussing strange events happening around the world. Most importantly, they were talking about evidence of alien observation. Dr. Vasquez has detected our monitoring equipment, the archive keeper announced. She has identified quantum signatures that match our technology. She knows someone is watching humanity from space. The hall fell silent. For thousands of years, the council had operated in perfect secrecy. No primitive species had ever detected their presence. But humans were not only seeing through their concealment, they were beginning to understand the scope of the deception. If they discover the full truth, Kronak said slowly, they will know that their entire history has been managed and controlled. They will know that every war, every disaster, every setback was caused by us, Mistwalker added, and they will hate us for it, the collective concluded. Veltherax turned away from the screen. The magnitude of the crisis was becoming clear. Humanity was not just developing advanced abilities, they were uncovering the greatest secret in galactic history. Soon they would know that the Galactic Council had been pulling the strings of their civilization for thousands of years. We must decide quickly, he announced. Do we continue to hide and hope they remain ignorant? Do we reveal ourselves and try to explain our actions? Or do we take more direct action to protect our secret? The council members looked at each other with growing fear. They had controlled the galaxy for millions of years, but now, for the first time, they faced a species that might be beyond their control, and that species was humanity. The intelligence reports arrived like a flood. Every few minutes, another message reached the council station. Each one brought more disturbing news about human activities across their space. Veltherax stood in the communications center, reading report after report. What he saw made his blood run cold. Report from monitoring station Alpha 7, announced the communications officer. Luna colony is showing massive quantum disturbances. The source appears to be a 12-year-old human child named Marcus Chen. Veltherax activated the viewing screen. It showed the human colony on Earth's moon. Inside a school building, a young boy sat at a desk surrounded by electronic devices. As they watched, the devices began to turn on by themselves. Lights flashed, screens displayed complex patterns, and machines hummed to life without anyone touching them. How is this possible? Asked Mistwalker, who had arrived to review the intelligence. That child has no training in quantum manipulation. According to our records, Marcus Chen is just an ordinary student, the communications officer replied. He shows no special education or background. Yet he appears to be interfacing directly with electronic systems through quantum entanglement. The screen showed the boy's teacher trying to understand what was happening. The teacher unplugged the devices, but they continued to operate. She moved Marcus to another room, but the electronic disturbances followed him wherever he went. The child does not even realize what he is doing, Veltherax observed. This is completely instinctive behavior. Another message arrived from a different monitoring station. Report from Station Beta 12. Proxima Centauri colony is showing impossible survival rates. Humans are adapting to lethal environmental conditions. The screen changed to show humanity's colony around the nearest star. The planet was harsh and deadly. The atmosphere contained poisonous gases, and radiation levels were high enough to kill most species within hours. Yet humans were not just surviving, they were thriving. "Look at this data," the communications officer said. "Radiation levels that should be instantly fatal are having no effect on the colonists. They are working outside without protection suits in conditions that would kill our own people." Kronak studied the readings carefully. This is beyond normal adaptation. Humans appear to be altering their local environment at the quantum level. They are actually changing the laws of physics around themselves. "Is this conscious or unconscious?" Mistwalker asked. "Our sensors suggest it is completely unconscious," the communications officer replied. "The humans do not realize they are doing anything unusual. They simply exist in conditions that should be impossible." More reports continued to arrive. A mining station in the asteroid belt reported that human workers were finding ore deposits without using any scanning equipment. They seemed to know intuitively where valuable materials were hidden. A research station near Jupiter observed human scientists making breakthrough discoveries without following proper scientific methods. They were reaching correct conclusions through what they called educated guesses. "Every report shows the same pattern," Veltharax said. "Humans are demonstrating abilities they should not possess, and they are doing it naturally, without understanding how or why." The most disturbing reports came from the deep space monitoring stations. These were the Council's most secret installations, hidden far from any inhabited system. Their job was to watch for signs of advanced civilizations that might threaten the established order. "Report from Station Gamma 1, the communications officer announced. "Long-range sensors have detected quantum signatures from human space. The signatures match our own technology." "What does that mean?" asked a young luminal who had just arrived. "Means humans are not just developing quantum consciousness," Veltharax explained. "They are somehow mimicking or reproducing our own advanced technologies that took us millions of years to develop." The screen showed deep space, sensor readings. Quantum energy patterns flowed between human colonies like rivers of light. The patterns were complex and organized, showing clear signs of intelligent design. "How long have these signatures been present?" Mistwalker asked. "Our analysis suggests they began appearing shortly after Dr. Vasquez made her breakthrough," the communications officer replied. "But they are growing stronger and more complex every day." Veltharax felt a chill of fear. The Council's technology was supposed to be impossible for primitive species to understand, let alone reproduce. Yet humans were not just copying their techniques, they were improving on them. "There is more disturbing news," the communications officer continued. "Several monitoring stations report that humans are becoming aware of our surveillance networks." The screen showed intercepted human communications. Scientists and government officials were discussing strange readings from their instruments. They had detected quantum patterns that did not match any known natural phenomena. "Dr. Vasquez has been analyzing these patterns," the communications officer explained. "She believes they represent some form of artificial intelligence or alien technology." "How close is she to discovering the truth?" Veltharax asked. "According to our analysis, she may identify our monitoring stations within days. Once she does, the secret of our existence will be revealed to all humanity." The reports kept coming. Human children were demonstrating telepathic abilities. Human artists were creating works that somehow affected the emotions of anyone who saw them, even through electronic displays. Human musicians were composing songs that caused physical changes in listeners' brains. "This is not normal evolution," Kronak observed. "Species do not develop this quickly. There must be some other explanation." "Perhaps there is something unique about human genetics," Mistwalker suggested. "Something we missed in our original studies." The communications officer activated a new display. "We have been analyzing human DNA more carefully. What we found is disturbing." The screen showed complex genetic patterns. Human DNA contained sequences that did not match any known species in the galactic databases. More troubling, some of these sequences appeared to be artificial, as if they had been designed rather than evolved naturally. "These genetic markers do not appear in early human samples," the communications officer explained. They seem to have activated only recently, around the same time that humans began developing quantum abilities. Activated by what? Veltherax asked. We do not know. But whatever triggered these changes is spreading through the human population rapidly. Our latest estimates suggest that within a year, all humans may possess some form of quantum consciousness. The implications were staggering. The Council had spent thousands of years keeping humanity primitive and controlled. But now humans were not just catching up to advanced civilizations, they were potentially surpassing them. We need to understand what is driving these changes, Veltherax announced. Send our best scientists to analyze the human genetic data. We must discover what makes them different. The collective's 1,000 voices spoke as one. There is another possibility we must consider. What if humans were never primitive at all? What if we misunderstood their true nature from the beginning? This thought silenced the room. The Council had built their entire strategy on the assumption that humans were a young, simple species. If that assumption was wrong, then everything they had done for thousands of years might have been based on a fundamental error. Impossible, Kronak said. We studied humans for centuries before implementing the control protocols. Our scans were thorough and accurate. Yet the evidence suggests otherwise, Mistwalker replied. Perhaps human consciousness operates in ways we do not understand. Perhaps their apparent simplicity was actually a form of dormancy. New alarms began sounding in the communications center. Emergency signals were arriving from monitoring stations across the galaxy. The messages all carried the same urgent warning. Report. From all stations, the communications officer announced with growing panic. Humans have detected our quantum networks. They are not just aware of our surveillance. They are beginning to trace our signals back to their sources. Veltherax stared at the flood of incoming messages. Each one brought news of human advances that should have been impossible. They were evolving at a rate that defied all scientific understanding. Worse, they were becoming aware of the Council's presence and activities. How long before they trace our signals to this station? He asked. Based on current trends, perhaps days, maybe hours. The crisis was escalating beyond anything the Council had ever faced. Humanity was not just breaking free of their control. They were threatening to expose the entire system of galactic management that had existed for millions of years. Send emergency signals to all Council members, Veltherax commanded. We must convene immediately to discuss containment options and prepare the deep archives. We may need to access our most ancient records to understand what we are truly dealing with. As the communications center buzzed with activity, Veltherax stood alone with his thoughts. For the first time in his long life, he wondered if the Galactic Council had made an enemy they could not defeat. An enemy called humanity. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been in progress for 6 hours. The Great Hall buzzed with tension as species from across the galaxy debated their response to the human crisis. Finally, Veltherax called for silence. We have heard all arguments, he announced. The time for debate is over. We must vote on Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was the most extreme containment measure in the Council's history. It had never been used before, not in 10 million years of galactic governance. The protocol called for the complete isolation of a species using quantum barriers that would cut them off from the rest of the universe. All those in favor of implementing Protocol 7 against humanity indicate now, Veltherax commanded. Lights appeared across the hall as Council members cast their votes. The Zephyrians voted yes. The Minerals voted yes. The collective's 1,000 voices spoke in unison. We vote to contain the human threat. Only the Ethereals hesitated. Mistwalker floated in the center of their delegation, her gaseous form shifting nervously. We are concerned about the ethics of such action. Humans have done nothing to directly threaten us. They threaten our entire way of life, Kronak replied. If other species learn that we have been controlling galactic development, there will be chaos throughout the galaxy. The vote is decided, Veltherax announced. Protocol 7 is approved. May the ancestors forgive us for what we are about to do. The Great Hall emptied as Council members returned to their ships. But the most ancient beings remained behind. The Luminals were the oldest species in the galaxy. They had existed as pure energy for over 50 million years. Their knowledge of quantum manipulation was unmatched by any other race. "Are you certain this will work?" Veltherax asked the lead luminal. "We have contained entire solar systems before," the being of light replied. "The quantum barriers we will create around human space will be absolute. Nothing will be able to enter or leave their territory. Their consciousness abilities will be trapped within their own borders. And if they try to break through? Impossible. The barriers will absorb and redirect any energy they generate. The more they struggle against containment, the stronger the barriers will become." The work began immediately. Luminal ships took positions around human space, forming a perfect sphere that encompassed Earth and all its colonies. The energy beings began weaving quantum fields together, creating invisible walls that would trap humanity forever. At first, everything went according to plan. The quantum barriers formed exactly as designed. They were invisible to human instruments, but impenetrable to any form of matter or energy. The luminals worked with the precision of master craftsmen, building layer upon layer of quantum containment. "Barriers are holding steady," reported the lead luminal. "Human space is now completely isolated, but within hours, something strange began to happen. The barriers started to change. Instead of simply blocking human attempts to break free, they began to resonate. The quantum fields that were supposed to contain human consciousness began to amplify it instead." "What is happening?" Veltherax demanded from the council station. "We are not certain," the lead luminal replied. "The barriers are reacting to human consciousness in ways we did not predict. Instead of absorbing their quantum energy, the barriers are somehow harmonizing with it." The situation grew worse by the hour. As humans throughout their colonies began to experience awakening events, their combined consciousness created a feedback loop with the containment barriers. Rather than being trapped, human abilities were being magnified and spread across vast distances. "Report from Luna Colony," came an urgent message. "The entire population is showing signs of advanced consciousness. They are communicating telepathically across the colony. Report from Proxima Centauri. Colonists are manipulating matter at the molecular level. They have begun transforming their entire world. Report from the asteroid mining stations. Human. Workers are controlling quantum fields without any equipment. They are moving asteroids with their minds alone." Veltherax watched in horror as the reports poured in. The containment protocol was not just failing, it was making humans more powerful than ever before. "Shut down the barriers," he ordered. "Protocol 7 is a failure." "We cannot," the lead luminal replied. "The barriers have become self-sustaining. They are drawing power from human consciousness itself. The more advanced humans become, the stronger the barriers grow." Meanwhile, in her laboratory in Moscow, Dr. Elena Vasquez was experiencing the most remarkable day of her life. The strange resonance in the quantum fields had awakened something deep within her consciousness. She could suddenly perceive energy patterns that extended far beyond Earth. "Computer, analyze these quantum signatures," she commanded. Her advanced AI system began processing the data. What it found made Elena's heart race with excitement and fear. The quantum patterns surrounding human space were artificial. They had been created by an intelligence far more advanced than anything on Earth. "These signatures match theoretical models for quantum containment fields," the computer reported. "Someone or something is trying to imprison humanity within our own solar system." But as Elena studied the data more carefully, she made an even more startling discovery. Hidden within the alien quantum signatures were mathematical patterns that looked familiar. They were similar to sequences she had found in human DNA during her consciousness research. "Computer, compare these quantum signatures to the genetic markers we discovered in human subjects." The analysis took several minutes. When it was complete, Elena stared at the results in amazement. The mathematical structures were nearly identical. The alien technology that was trying to contain humanity was based on the same fundamental patterns found in human genetics. "This is impossible," Elena whispered. Unless a terrible thought occurred to her. What if the similarities were not a coincidence? What if there was a direct connection between human consciousness and the alien technology? She began running more complex analyses, comparing every piece of data she had collected about quantum consciousness, human genetics, and the alien containment field. The deeper she dug, the more connections she found. Human DNA contained sequences that matched quantum field equations. The alien barriers responded to human consciousness as if they recognized it. Most shocking of all, humans seemed to be naturally compatible with technology that should have been completely foreign to them. Computer, theoretical question. If humans were the original creators of this quantum technology, what would we expect to see? Processing, the computer replied. If humans created this technology in the past, we would expect to find genetic markers that correspond to the mathematical structures. We would expect human consciousness to naturally interface with the technology. We would expect the technology to respond to human mental patterns as if it recognized them. And that is exactly what we are seeing, Elena said quietly. The implications hit her like a physical blow. Humans were not primitive beings struggling to understand advanced technology. They were the descendants of whoever had created that technology in the first place. The alien species trying to contain them were using tools that humans had originally designed. Elena's hands trembled as she activated her emergency communication system. She needed to share this discovery with every human scientist on every colony. The world needed to know the truth about their origins and their abilities. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez broadcasting on all frequencies, she began. I have made a discovery that changes everything we believe about our place in the universe. The quantum technology that surrounds our space is not alien at all. It is based on human genetic patterns. We are not the primitive species we believed ourselves to be. As her message spread throughout human space, something extraordinary happened. The awakening events that had been occurring randomly began to happen everywhere at once. Humans across the colonies suddenly found themselves able to access abilities they had never known they possessed. On Mars, colonists began reshaping the planet's atmosphere with their thoughts. On Europa, researchers started communicating with the quantum consciousness of the moon itself. In the asteroid belt, miners discovered they could sense valuable materials across vast distances without any instruments. The quantum barriers that were supposed to contain humanity began to crack and waver. The alien technology could not hold against the combined will of an entire species that was finally remembering what it was capable of. The containment is failing, reported the lead luminal to the council station. Human consciousness is overwhelming our systems. How is this possible? Veltherex demanded. We do not know, but it appears that humans are not just breaking free of our containment. They are taking control of it. The barriers are beginning to respond to their commands instead of ours. As the crisis deepened, one thought echoed through the minds of every council member. They had not captured humanity in a prison. They had awakened sleeping giants who were now reclaiming their birthright. The galaxy would never be the same again. The deepest archives of the council station had not been accessed for over 1 billion years. Veltherex descended through levels of the crystal structure that most council members did not even know existed. The walls here were made from materials that predated most galactic civilizations. Ancient data crystals glowed with their own inner light, containing memories from the very dawn of intelligent life in the galaxy. Archive Keeper, Veltherex called into the darkness. I need access to the first records, the absolute beginning of everything. A presence stirred in the depths of the data core. The Archive Keeper's consciousness was older than most star systems. It had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, but even it rarely ventured into the earliest memories. The first records are dangerous knowledge, the ancient voice warned. They contain truths that were sealed for good reason. Are you certain you wish to proceed? Humanity is breaking free of all our containment, Veltherex replied. They are demonstrating abilities that should not exist. Their consciousness harmonizes with technology that should be completely foreign to them. I must know why. Very well, but remember, some knowledge cannot be forgotten once it is learned. The chamber filled with light as the oldest data crystals began to activate. Images appeared that showed the galaxy as it had been billions of years ago. Star systems that no longer existed, worlds that had been consumed by their own suns. And, in the center of it all, a species that the records called simply the Architects. Who were the Architects? Veltherax asked. They were the first, the archive keeper replied. The first species to achieve true quantum consciousness. The first to manipulate matter and energy at the fundamental level. The first to spread across the galaxy and seed it with life. The images showed beings of incredible power. They could reshape planets with their thoughts. They could travel instantly across vast distances. They could communicate with the quantum consciousness that underlies all reality. Most remarkably, they appeared to be remarkably similar to modern humans. These architects, Veltherax said slowly. They look like humans, not exactly like humans, the archive keeper corrected. Humans look like them. The architects were the template from which all humanoid species were derived. Veltherax felt his world crumbling around him. Everything the council believed about galactic history was wrong. The architects had not been just another advanced species. They had been the creators of the basic patterns that all later civilizations would follow. What happened to them? He asked. That is the greatest mystery in galactic history, the archive keeper replied. At the height of their power, they simply vanished. Every trace of their civilization disappeared overnight. It was as if they had never existed at all. But they left behind their technology. Yes, the quantum consciousness frameworks that every advanced species uses today were originally created by the architects. The Zephyrians, the Luminals, the Collective, all of your people's abilities are based on systems the architects designed billions of years ago. The implications were staggering. The entire Galactic Council was built on technology they had inherited, not developed themselves. They were not the wise rulers they believed themselves to be. They were children playing with toys left behind by their true predecessors. Continue the records, Veltherax commanded. Show me everything. The images fast-forwarded through billions of years of galactic history. After the architects disappeared, younger species began to evolve. They discovered pieces of the ancient technology and slowly learned to use it. Eventually, these species formed the first version of the Galactic Council, but there were always rumors. Stories of a species that would return someday. Legends that spoke of the creators awakening from their long sleep. Most council members dismissed these as primitive mythology. Now show me the recent data, Veltherax said. Show me humanity's genetic analysis. The display changed to show detailed scans of human DNA. The archive keeper began highlighting specific sequences, comparing them to the oldest records in the database. Look at these patterns, the ancient consciousness said. These genetic markers in human DNA are identical to quantum signatures we find in architect technology. Not similar, identical. What does this mean? It means humans are not a primitive species that we have been controlling. They are the direct descendants of the architects themselves. Veltherax staggered backward. The truth was more horrible than he could have imagined. For thousands of years, the Council had been manipulating and controlling the very species that had created them. They had been keeping their own creators in chains. But how is this possible? He asked. If humans are descended from the architects, why were they primitive for so long? Why did they live in caves and hunt with stone tools? Think about what you know of the architects, the archive keeper replied. They were beings of immense power and wisdom. What would such beings do if they became concerned about the direction their civilization was taking? The answer came to Veltherax like a lightning bolt. They would start over. They would choose to begin again, to evolve naturally instead of relying on their advanced technology. Exactly. The evidence suggests that the architects chose to abandon their advanced state. They scattered themselves across the galaxy in primitive form, allowing natural evolution to guide their development. Earth was one of many worlds where they seeded themselves, and we have been preventing them from reaching their natural potential. Yes, every time humans came close to rediscovering their true abilities, the Council intervened. You have been holding back the very species that gave you the knowledge and technology to rule the galaxy. Veltherax felt sick. The magnitude of the Council's crimes was beyond measure. They had committed the ultimate act of betrayal, enslaving their own creators. But why are they awakening now? He asked. What has changed? Dr. Elena Vasquez, the archive keeper, replied. Her quantum consciousness experiments have activated dormant genetic sequences in human DNA. She has awakened the architect heritage that has been sleeping for billions of years. New alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency messages were arriving from across the galaxy. Veltharax activated the communication system to receive the reports. Council Station, this is monitoring post Delta 9. Human consciousness expansion has reached critical levels. They are no longer confined to their own space. Report from Zephyrian homeworld. Humans are appearing in our system. They are traveling by quantum consciousness alone, without ships. Report from the Luminal Collective. Human thoughts are interfacing with our energy matrix. They are communicating with us directly, mind to mind. Veltharax realized that the awakening was accelerating beyond all predictions. Humans were not just rediscovering their abilities, they were surpassing their ancient predecessors. Billions of years of evolution had made them stronger than the original architects. Show me Dr. Vasquez now, he commanded. The screen displayed Elena's laboratory in Moscow, but she was no longer alone. The small room was filled with images of other humans from across the galaxy. They were communicating through pure quantum consciousness, sharing knowledge at the speed of thought. People of Earth and all her colonies, Elena was saying to the assembled minds. We now know the truth about our origins. We are not the young species we believed ourselves to be. We are the return of something ancient and powerful. But what should we do with this knowledge? Asked a colonist from Mars. How do we use these abilities responsibly? We remember who we were and we become who we are meant to be, Elena replied. We take our place as the rightful guardians of this galaxy. Veltharax watched as human consciousness expanded beyond Earth's solar system. They were reaching out to every inhabited world, making contact with species that had never known of their existence. Some alien civilizations welcomed the returning architects. Others fled in terror. But the humans were not seeking conquest. They were offering partnership. They wanted to share their rediscovered knowledge and help other species reach their full potential. This changes everything, Veltharax said quietly. The Council's authority is finished. Humanity will reshape galactic civilization according to their own vision. Perhaps that is as it should be, the archive keeper replied. The architects created this galaxy. It is right that their descendants should inherit it. On the screen, Dr. Elena Vasquez looked up from her work. For just a moment, her enhanced consciousness reached across space to touch the Council Station. She looked directly into Veltharax's eyes, though millions of kilometers separated them. We remember now, she said softly. Her voice carried clearly, through the quantum communication channels. We remember who we were and who you are. We remember how you held us back and why you were afraid. But we do not hate you for it, she continued. You were children who found our toys and thought you were the masters. Now the parents have come home. It is time for all of us to grow up. Elena's consciousness withdrew, leaving Veltharax alone, with the weight of cosmic history. Around him, the ancient crystal station began to change. The walls were responding to human consciousness, transforming from a council stronghold into something else entirely. What is happening? Veltharax asked.